You just can't beat a good cup of coffee. Alright, today we have a 2009 Ford Escape that has a water leak issue of all things on the right front A-pillar where the grab handle's at. So they're just driving along, and water just starts dripping out of the bolt hole on there basically. So what a lot of people do is they go after the windshield right away and they get it resealed by the glass company. It's an obvious leak point, it's right there, and it just makes sense. Well, the concern will keep coming back over and over again because that's not the actual source of the water leak. The source of the water leak, believe it or not, is the little satellite radio pod that's on top of the roof. Now you'd be thinking, well, if it was leaking, it'd be just pouring water down the headliner, it'd be an obvious water leak point on there, and you'd be able to see it. What happens is that the water's not rushing through there, it's kind of like seeping through there, so it goes through, and then it follows the cable down over the headliner and over to the A-pillar, and it's kind of like a drip loop there, and that's where it collects and just drops off on the handle of the A-pillar. So that's the actual source of the leak. Luckily, it's a very simple fix. What Ford has us doing is using high temperature engine sealant because of the high temperatures you're going to experience on the roof on there. So what I'm going to do today is show you exactly how to get up in there, take the antenna off of there, clean the area, reseal it, and reclamp it back down without taking down the whole headliner. Now luckily the Escape that I'm going to be demonstrating the procedure on is very similar to the F-150s, Expeditions, and other Ford vehicles. So just follow the same procedures, take the same panels off in the same manner, and then that'll allow you access to it. And then of course from there, pulling the antenna off and sealing it is the exact same procedure. So let's get to it. Okay, just for reference, I'll show you exactly where that antenna is located on the Ford vehicles. On the older style that are prone to leaking, they're all right here on the passenger front of the roof right there, and they all look the same exact way. Now, what happens is the water seeps into there, follows the antenna lead down over the headliner and down through the A-pillar, and it drips off onto this interior grab handle right here. And that's where you get the leak point, but it's ultimately coming from a higher point, higher place, which is the satellite antenna. Okay, from inside the vehicle in the front passenger seat area, we're going to go ahead and start taking off the interior trim panel for the A-pillar here. Now, most, if not all, will have this grab handle to take off too, and this actually bolts into the A-pillar. It doesn't just snap in like the rest of the trim on here. So what we're going to have to do is take off these two plugs that hide the screws, and luckily these are pretty soft, and if you indent them with your pry tool, they'll kind of just pop back, so they're pretty hard to damage. So what you want to use is a flathead screwdriver like this, and we're going to go in straight, and it usually pops up like that. I know this one was half out already. Some of these fit tighter than others, and the same thing up here. You just put it in there straight, and you get it in there, and then you pry, and you'll see it just, comes right out then. Now these are different, so keep them separate, but in the end when we're going back together, you'll see it's pretty hard to mix them up. I mean, it just won't fit in there right. It's just, so, but they are different, just for your information there. Next, there's two 7mm screws in here that hold it on. We'll take those off. You don't want to lose these. They're specialty size and specialty thread on there, a fine thread. Take them out like that. Now a lot of times I'll take it out just like this so I cannot lose it. And the same thing going back in. When I'm going back in, it holds it from falling. So that's one tip I can give you. So we'll put all that to the side. Don't lose anything. Like I said, it's all probably pretty expensive from the dealer. At this point, we're going to pull the weather strip down and out of the way, just so we have working room in here, because the headliner is going to come down also, and this is going to kind of hold it up and be in our way. So you just grab onto it from both sides like this, and some of them are stuck on here pretty good. You just don't want to tweak it anyway. There we go. It comes off of there, and just go all the way back with that and let it hang like that. It's just fine. At this point, this thing just comes right off of there. A little wiggling over here by the dash, and it comes out of the hooks over there also. Let me get this trim panel out of the way. Now, hopefully you can see all this. Let's get you a little bit closer into here. Okay, we had a little malfunction there, but check it out. Over here, this is the washer line going back. But this right here, small cable right here, that's the satellite antenna feed that comes down and through here. So that's how it's gonna travel down and wick onto these screw holes and ultimately out the handle there. So it's interesting to know how it all works, I guess. Okay, the next thing we need to take off is the visor itself. So we'll flick it down, we'll flick it out of the way, and we'll take this clip off first. Now these are either going to be Phillips or they're going to be like a T20. These particular ones are a Phillips. And these you definitely want to not lose a screw just like that. You want to, you know, keep these together so it's a matching set. Okay, that's ready to go. And then there's two more screws over here, okay, that hold the pivot hinge over here. Take those out. And you can see these ones are a lot freaking smaller. That's why I got to keep them separate. And then there's this one. Now, this visor is going to have a wire attached to it for the power mirror inside of it, the lights inside. It's got to kind of angle it down and hook it out of there. Now on the F-150s, it's going to be a lot easier to get it out of there. Now you also want to take down your overhead console so we have more flex with the headliner coming down so we can get in there without crimping or ruining the headliner anyway. So it's going to be the same thing. There's going to be a door on there for your glasses or whatever, and one of them is going to have screws that go into the headliner on there. Take those out. And like I said, they'll be either Phillips or T20s, depending on your year and model. Now usually this side hooks in and that side screws in, so just do what you can to get this side out. This side should have your retainer like that right there. And then this side, like I said, it'll just hook into the headliner. Scoops and hooks right into it. So make sure you pull on the side with the screws in it. Okay, that's out of the way, and our whole headliner is starting to become very easy to pull down from here. Now on this one, it has a bracket for the screw to go into, and it's actually holding the headliner up. So you can go behind here and push down a little bit and work it off of there. But usually this does not happen either. I just want to get past there. There we go. It should come down very easy like this at this point, and the whole thing just comes down. Okay, let's finish pulling down the weather strip from that passenger front door all the way down. Get it out of the way. I just lay down. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull off, or at least loosen, the B-pillar upper trim panel on here. And there's going to be some kind of bolt up here, and then down below here, it usually snaps into the lower piece on here. They're all pretty much the same on all the Ford models. So the same thing, your flathead screwdriver, put in the bottom of it like that. Ooh, it just flew off of there. And it will literally fly right off. Just another trim panel for more screws that are hidden. And this particular one, I think, has a 10 mil. Yeah, 10 mil. That's holding it in. Get that out of there. And all these screws are different sizes and different types, so just make sure you keep them separate on there. Now, what we basically need to do is drop the headliner a little bit right here, so we don't need this thing supporting it, which is basically what it's doing right now. So you can pull this seat belt all the way down, and this just pushes in now, like that. You can see like that, and it'll come down enough. Let's see if I can get you a side shot here. Whoa. Okay, you can see it from the side here now. If we keep it out like this, and you gotta remember all these pieces are very flexible. If we keep it out like this, let me see what we can do here. You can see the whole headliner is loose now. And we can get up inside of there to get to the antenna. Now it's best to use a wadded up rag to put pressure behind the B-pillar trim panel so it comes out a little bit like it is, and it allows us to move the headliner down a little bit, droop it a little bit more, so we can get our arm up inside of here without damaging anything. Once you get up inside of here, you're going to be going up inside of here and looking for one 10mm bolt. I'll show you where it's at, right there. And that 10mm bolt and that tripod looking thing on there is what you need to take off of there. Once that's off of there, you can come back up top here, and this whole thing, it'll lift right off of here. At that point, we can get underneath there, clean it up, and reseal it, and then go back on the other side and bolt it down once again. And the antenna itself should stay basically in place while you're doing this. And with taking down the overhead console, the A-pillar trim, and the B-pillar, getting it out of the way, you should be able to get up in here pretty darn easy. Without even flexing the headliner too much at all. And that's how that looks. Okay, so as you can see, once the antenna's up and out of here, on the underside, this outer seal is basically keeping the bulk of the water out, but its main purpose is to actually flush it out with the top of the vehicle so the antenna looks nice on there and there's no wind noise concerns. The big job of keeping all the water out from the interior goes to this house-looking seal, this triangular seal inside of here. And this uses the same kind of foam that they were using on the F-150 third brake lights that were leaking for the past decade. So you know it's going to have the same kind of failure once it goes through a couple of heat cycles from the sun and many years of aging up on top of here. So we're going to be scraping this off, okay, all the way off of there. We're going to clean it with some alcohol, and then the same thing in the body here. We're going to clean that with some alcohol, make it real nice and clean, and then we're going to apply that engine sealant to the body that they want us to use, and then clamp this whole thing back down. Okay, now if you can, try to get underneath there with the pick or something like that, like I did, and then you can get to the back side, the adhesive strip on there, and it makes it a lot easier to pull it up and out of there. It'll kind of take the foam and everything all together. Make your job much easier, a lot cleaner. Now before putting the alcohol on there and grinding all this grit into it, let's do a proper cleaning with some Windex here, some glass cleaner, and we'll bring all the grit in instead of going all over the place. Something like that. We'll get the grit out of here and then proceed with alcohol. Okay, at this point you want to use rubbing alcohol, and we'll clean the paint and the base. They actually say to use a 50-50 mixture on there, water and rubbing alcohol, but I personally just do a full strength. Get it nice and clean. Okay, with everything all cleaned off of here, nice and scraped out like this, we can go ahead, do one last wipe of the rubbing alcohol, make sure everything's nice and clean, and then we're going to apply an 1/8 inch bead all the way around of the high temperature engine sealant, ideally in one continuous bead if possible. And then at that point, you just flip it over between the clear retainer here and the nub. It'll line it up perfectly, going back in, and we can go down below and start bolting it into there. Okay, let's see. Always put a little extra on there. It's almost too much. At this point, flip it over. Everything looks good. It's clean. Snaps right back into place just like that. Perfectly centered and located back in the same original spot. Okay, put a little bit of blue Loctite on your screw. And have one hand up top holding it, and the other one working through the headliner here. And get it started. And up into there. Just make sure none of the legs of the retainer on there are crushing the satellite cable. Here's a nice close-up shot showing the cable coming through one of the legs on there, between the legs on there. And that's the main thing you want to focus on, is that we're not crimping the cable and ruining it. Besides that, just start ratcheting it down. Now you just simply need to snug this down. You don't want to tighten it too much. You'll feel when there's resistance, and you can also sit here and watch the antenna itself get sucked down to the body. See, now we're starting to feel resistance. A little bit more. And that's it. Okay, so hopefully this helps. I know it looks daunting going in there and tearing apart all those interior trim panels, but in all reality, that one corner of the headliner just needs to come down, and you have plenty of access to get in there and unscrew that bolt and take it out and seal it up on there. Just be careful with each component you're taking off so you don't damage any retainers or anything like that. And of course, make sure you keep the bolts with each component you're taking off, because there's just about all of them are different, either in thickness or length on there. So you don't want to mix them up. It's going to take forever going back together and be breaking stuff and getting frustrated and wondering why you ever started this job in the first place. So just follow my tips and tricks, and you can get in there very, very easy and get this thing sealed before the headliner gets any damage to it.